Hello, everyone. I'm Kenzo from US and Japan, and I'm presenting with.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Soy Yosef de México.
Together, we'll be presenting our module, the Tales of Two Cities, or the module of architecture. So, in this module, we were working with a group of students coming from a wide range of cultures, and unfortunately, Sophie wasn't able to join us for the first part, but she was able to join us online. Obviously, not through an iPad, but she was able to support us from there. I'd like to start by breaking down the driving question, which was, how can we apply the Japanese approach of cultural conservation to design for architectural renovation or innovation in our own home cities? And throughout this presentation, we'll show you the experiences and the skills that we learned to help answer this question in our own way.
During the first part of the term, we had the opportunity to learn about local and global architectural techniques. During the second part of the term, we had the opportunity to delve deeper into our own cultural techniques and then integrated them into the summative we decided to do. We had the opportunity to learn cultural architecture with multicultural architects. We were with a Mexican, Japanese, and New Zealander professor from Kyoto, Tokyo, and Hiroshima University.
So I'd like to talking about our first guest speaker, Professor Daniel, who we visited during Kyoto We Explore. And he was really interesting because he told us about the Medievalists, which is a group of architects around the 1940s to 70s, and they were really popular at the time, being led by an architect known as Kenzo Tange, who I will refer to later on. They were the pioneers for what we have today as capsule hotels, and they also designed the World Expo for Osaka in 1970. He also talked about Japanese architectural concepts, such as doma, which is the earthen floor in a Japanese house, symbolizing where you take your shoes off and how you enter a Japanese building. Oku, or depth, which is how a Japanese building changes in connection to its environment as you get deeper into the building. And then the nakanima, or the inside garden. We also talked with Dr. Mizuta, who was a really interesting architect that told us about the evolution of more recent Japanese architects in the past few decades. And he also explained to us how Kenzo Tange, the leader of the Medievalists that I mentioned earlier, was actually the designer for the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. So he was in charge of designing that whole layout and that whole beautiful park. He also talked about architects at this time were not only focusing on just physical buildings and in consideration for those who live in them, but how they're talking about more like psychological concepts such as light and space within their designs.
We also engaged in conversation with Rafael Balboa, a Mexican architect that has been living in Japan for more than 30 years. With him, we learned a little bit more about the Tokyo's social construction and how it's directly linked to Bushido and Buddhism values. At the same time, we also learned a little bit more how can we do our designs respecting and making harmony with local values, with local culture, and with the local environment. Last and not least, we had the opportunity to learn that while architecture is a beautiful art, it is also a business, and how can we make and strategize our designs to make it a beautiful business that boosts like any other business. So, what is DJS if it was only guest speakers? Why would it be a traveling school? We had the opportunity to go to Small Worlds Tokyo. There, we learned about different things. First of all, we were in front of a bird design of an entire city. Here, we could see differences in the social structure of the city, including high-end neighborhoods and slums. At the same time, during our visit to the French, Switzerland, and German villa, we had the opportunity to learn how aspects of architecture are very much defined by aspects such as the weather and the local taste of the people. We went little, but we also went big. We went to the Edo Tokyo Open Air Museum. There, we were showcased with buildings that have been very important and remarkable for Japanese history. So, from a 19th century Japanese house to a hundreds and hundreds years old onsen.
While we were in Tokyo, we also got to visit the Tokyo office of an architect firm known as M's Architect, and they design private homes in a town called Karuizawa. And it was really interesting to visit their office because they showed us the professional architect design workflow for things considering like what the client wants, how they like the culture of how they live, and how to consider their building within the nearby environment to design it to blend in without standing out. They also had tons of physical models, as you can see, in their office, which is really useful for designing our summatives, as some of us chose to go with physical models. As I mentioned earlier, we also use the Sweet Home 3D, which is floor planning and 3D modeling software, design sketches, and other forms of floor planning with images to help iterate and design what kind of building do we want to build for our final product, and to answer the giant question.
But what is design without a rationale? We delve deeper into our home culture architectural elements to further create our design. A great example of this is Satya. In her case, culture was not only seen as a thing that is there, rather as a way of showcasing your identity. She decided to build her house on her experiences during her Australian and Thailand time. She took the best parts of each of the architectural elements and designed a house that looks a little bit Thailand but a little bit Queenslander, with a roof allowing better airflow to go by, and Queenslander windows, making the house seem cooler and more comfortable for the people that live in it.
But our summatives weren't only limited to houses. For example, Santi's summative was a memorial park for victims of violence in Mexico. He wanted to spread awareness about the 350,000 people killed after the warhead drugs began. The way he expressed this is he used different forms of symbolism within his peace park. For example, in the entryway, as you can see, there's 35 columns separated into 11 lanes, which respectively represent the 350,000 killed and 110,000 missing. He also chose with a style of like modern, brutalist 20th century Mexican architecture to further enhance this idea that he was talking about.
Next, we would like to do a special mention to Francesca and Sophie, which very kindly and very proactively helped us during the module, and because of them, it wouldn't have been possible. Thank you very much. Obrigado. Gracias.
And sorry, just before we wrap up, we'd like to invite you to our booth. There, we not only have models of just houses and things like that, but some of the students decided to build a wide variety of buildings, such as possible expo buildings for Brazil, and even high-end hotels. So please come do visit our booth, and we even have a VR exhibition set up, so you can come and look at our designs in real time and walk around them as if you were there. Thank you very much.